Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another Mother. This is a parenting and faith podcast by My Spring Harvest with me, Emma Borquay. I am a mum of two little ones. I've got Ezra, who is 4, and Hallie, who is 1. And I guess, like many of us have experienced, life can be unpredictable. It's full of ups, downs, and curveballs, especially when you've got kids. But life is better when you do it together. So in season 1, I chatted to 9 incredible people to hear more about their parenting experiences, to learn from them, to share in their wisdom. And now we are back for season 2 of Another Mother, where I continue to seek answers to my never-ending questions and explore some very interesting topics with our guests. So today, I'm very excited to be joined by the wonderful Joanna Adeyinka-Burford.
Oh yeah, she got it right.
I got it right. I've been practicing.
Yeah, very good. I'm impressed.
Make sure I get it right. So Joanna is a CBeebies presenter. She's an entertainer. Well, you're a presenter generally, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and an entertainer and now an author, which is incredible. So she's written this wonderful book, What's Up, which we're going to chat about in a little while. So yeah, you probably would have seen Joanna on your TVs because you do present a lot of children's shows and you are just keeping our kids entertained while we run around either like cleaning or
dinner,
cooking, having a little nap maybe.
Having a nap. I used to put CBeebies on when I wanted to cook dinner for my kids. I'd be like, this is nice and safe. Here you go. Here's half an hour. I'm going to go in the kitchen. So,
yes. So thank you for your services to us as parents in entertaining our kids for a few minutes so we can get stuff done.
Yeah. This is what we're here for.
And this is the thing. I feel like you understand. You know what it's like because you are also a mum.
Right.
You've got 2 children. Is that correct?
I do.
How old are they again?
So Nathaniel is 10, nearly ready for secondary school.
Oh, wow.
Which is very bizarre. And Taya is 9.
Wow. Oh, they're very close in age.
They are very close in age.
I didn't know that.
That wasn't planned. That's a whole other conversation.
Ooh. How many months difference, just for the record?
They are 16 months apart.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so Nathaniel was 4 months old when you were pregnant.
So he was 8 months old when I got pregnant with him.
Oh, okay. Right. My maths is really not good.
I mean, 4 months. I mean, I don't know what I've done.
Well, that's what I was
4
thinking.
months old. Woo! And what would you even be doing at 4? Anyway, like I said, there's a whole nother podcast, Emma.
Wow, my maths was really off on that one. Okay. So, as a TV presenter, entertainer, you've got a very exciting career. When was it that you started doing like children's TV?
So the first ever children's job I did was back in, what was the year? This is a long time ago. It was like, I don't know, like 2002. It was like 22 years ago or something. Yeah,
oh my.
So it was 2002. 22 years ago.
So you were 3 years old.
Yes, exactly. I was just out the womb. And yeah, I was for Nickelodeon. So it was actually a sketch show called Laugh Out Loud, but we'd come out and host it in front of a live studio audience. And then we'd do some of the sketches live, and then we'd do some of them were pre-recorded. And that was probably the first ever hosting, like presenting job I did.
Yeah. And
then big, long kind of was at drama school, and then I was acting, was teaching dance and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until 2011 that I really kind of stepped into it. And I entered a competition for, it was the Home and Away Bay Reporter. And so...
like Home and Away, as in the Australian
soap, mate.
No way, mate.
Yeah, mate.
That is life goals.
It was like crazy because Easter Monday, I remember this really vividly. I was at my good friend's house on Easter Monday hanging out, and she had the TV on, and this advert came up. It's like, do you love Home and Away? Would you like to be a TV presenter? And I was like,
yeah, mate.
Yeah, mate. I'd love to. So her and I did a little skit in her garden. She was Marilyn and I interviewed her and ended up, long story short, getting the gig, going to Australia, filming these 2 behind the scenes shows for Home and Away. And that was my first kind of proper presenting job.
And you got flown to Australia.
I got flown to Australia.
You got flued out.
I got flued out. It was awesome. And it was such a good learning ground because I hadn't gone to school to become a presenter. So I went to drama school And, I really didn't know what I was doing. So in that environment, we went with a producer from here, director from here, and everyone else was from the team in Australia from Channel 7. I was in the deep end. I was like in production meetings, writing scripts, and then interviewing these soap stars and coming up with, it was like the best learning ground.
Yeah, that's incredible. So how old were you at that point?
Oh, gosh. So I have no idea.
You don't
20-something.
know. You were 20-something.
I was 20-something.
And then what led you to then where you are now, which is doing more like kids' TV?
Kids stuff, yeah. So I'd always wanted to do kids' TV. And what my journey from there, I guess, was knocking on as many doors as possible. So I'd done this show back in 2002 for Nickelodeon, and the executive producer on that was at the time, in sort of 2012, was the head of children's at the BBC. So when I was kind of pushing doors to think, I want to do this, how am I going to do this? I wrote to everybody I knew in the TV world, him being one of them. And he then said, send your show reel to these people, which I did. And I got a screen test for CBBC, but I didn't get it, actually. They gave me some really positive feedback, but it just wasn't right. And then a few months later, a researcher contacted me and said, we're making a pilot for CBeebies. Would you like to come and audition for it? And I was like, well, sure. And actually, I just found out that I was pregnant with Nathaniel. I went for it anyway.
Yeah, how does that work? Are you allowed to be pregnant as like?
Well, this
not,
is the thing.
Not allowed. To be pregnant, but
the thing is, I don't think you're allowed to say you're pregnant. You can't come. Yeah. So they were like, come anyway, and I did. Okay. And I didn't get it, which was definitely the right thing because it would have been really weird. And actually, it was for Swashbuckle, which is the show my gorgeous friend Gemma Hunt does, and I couldn't imagine anyone else doing that. She was definitely designed for that show. And but then the year later, or maybe a year and a bit later, the same researcher contacted me and said, we're making another pilot for a CBeebies show. By that point, I'd just had baby number 2.
Oh, well, yeah, because you went quick.
I went quick. So I had this one little toddler and another little like newborn baby. She was about 2 weeks old when I got this email. Whoa. And I sort of thought, and I was just at that point where I was almost about to go, maybe this isn't right. Maybe I train as a teacher.
And why was that? Because like the opportunity,
it just wasn't really happening. I had a kid and I just had another kid and I was like, I need some stability. Maybe I love working with kids. Maybe I'll just train to be a teacher. And then I got this email and I sort of thought, oh gosh, well, how am I going to do this then? I thought, well, I'll go for it. And my sister came with me and I was still like breastfeeding at the time. So she waited in the lobby of this hotel while I did this audition. And that was for the first show that I did on CBeebies.
Wow.
So we did the pilot and then it got commissioned into a full series and we did 3 seasons of the show. And off the back of that, started going into the CBeebies house as a guest presenter. And then here I am now.
Oh my God.
Having been there for like 10 years or so.
So presumably your second maternity leave was kind of non-existent. Was it like straight back into work life?
Kind of. So I did the audition when she was really small, but then there was a bit of so that was,
like a waiting time.
October time. And then we filmed the pilot in the January. And she came with me, even actually when I filmed the first season of that, my mum came to Manchester with her and we just made it work. It was like, we're just going to work this out. So it was, there was still time off. But as a freelancer, you're never really off. Or you feel like you're never off. I don't know about you, whether you feel that way. But
yeah, I think as well, like what you were saying, is kind of the idea of if an opportunity comes, you're like, you've got to take it. And that can be hard then when you've got kids, especially like a newborn baby. You feel like, wow, I've really got to give your brain goes into complete mum mode and you're fully there, fully present with your baby. But then obviously you've got these dreams that have been inside of you for all of these years. And like you said, you were almost kind of close to giving up. And then this opportunity comes and you're like, okay, this could have been good 3 years ago, but okay, like
Sure.
let's go for it now.
Yeah.
And you have to just decide whether you're going to jump or whether you're going to like say, actually, no, this isn't right for me right now. So I bet you're glad that you took that leap.
I am.
Yeah?
I really am. Yeah. It was still a journey after that, because at that time, I think I was on maternity leave from a job that I was doing in a primary school.
Okay.
And I went back to that. And then I had this big wrestle, which I'm sure you've probably gone through or still going through it, that whole childcare drama situation, how expensive that is.
Yep.
So it was like, wow. So I went back to this job, but like I was basically earning in the minus because I was having to pay for childcare. It was just the most bonkers thing. So I'd gone back to that. So just because I had this one job on CBBC, that wasn't like, okay, that's it, we're done. I still had to go back to the normal graft of life. But I think it wasn't until my son was about to start his like 3 hours or something. And I then took the real leap, which was to leave my job at school and be a full-time mum and then just wait for any freelance opportunities that came. And that was probably the most amazing decision I ever made.
Really?
Yeah, because it gave me, I was like, I get to just be a mum. I get to be around. I get to do all the stuff. And he was in, nursery sort of half days, and then pick him up and spend time together and have time one-on-one with my daughter and all that kind of stuff. But then if an opportunity came, I could take it. I wasn't tied into anything. And it was a slow burn, but eventually, I feel so incredibly blessed that I can now do the things I love to do, and I don't have to make it up with another sort of job. I do lots of different jobs, but it's all stuff I love doing, as much as I loved working in the school. But do you know what I mean? I don't
absolutely.
have to have that kind of extra kind of thing to top it up, because I just get to do what I love doing. So that was probably the biggest leap of faith, but best decision I've ever made.
That's so cool, because I think I definitely have a very naive view of how showbiz works and like how you film for these kind of shows that you do, because obviously you see it going out like every day or every week, and so I would imagine that you just go and film every week or every day. But it doesn't work like that, does it? So do you have to spend quite a lot of time away from home when you do have a stint of work to go and do all the filming?
Yeah, obviously there's a team of people, so they are filming pretty much
all the time,
but I'm not filming with them all the time. And obviously I don't live in Manchester where it's filmed, so there's an element of travel involved. So for me, I will go for sort of 4 days at a time, film. They'll get a load of content that they'll then use and drip out whenever, but in between that they're still filming content that's going out with other people. And so there is a sense of exactly what you said. It is being filmed all the time, and you're seeing it all the time. And there's probably about a 2-week turnaround. So if we're doing something, if I was filming something today, you'd probably see it on your screen in about 2 weeks' time. That would be normally how it would work. Although sometimes things are filmed way in advance for Christmas, or sometimes they need a rush on something and it's like, okay, this is going to go out in a couple of days' time. But, there is that. There is happening all the time. But for me, it just has to make sense with I can't be up there all the time. So
So would you go you would stay for 4 days and then come back? Because is it right that your husband's a teacher?
Yes.
Yeah. So how does that work then for you guys in terms of your kids still need, I guess, like dropping to school, picking up from school?
Yes.
Do you have to rely on your village or community quite a lot?
Well, actually, my children go to the same school as my husband that he works at.
Amazing. That is a life hack.
So it's such a life hack, because previously they were in a different school, but then COVID happened and everything changed for a number of reasons. So we moved them to his school. So it works so well. So if I'm away, they just go to school with him. After school, they stay with him until it's time to go home. So it's perfect.
Oh, that's so he's probably like, oh man, this 4 days is tough. And you're like, yeah.
We don't have any childcare. So I'm like, don't worry about it. Just take it with you. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So
wow. Okay. So basically a life hack is to have one person in your parenting partnership be a teacher and just get the kids to go to the same school.
Yeah. Or if you have a teacher, a parent who's a teacher, I'm like, winning. It's great. They're so resilient as kids. Like that, they don't flinch it when I'm going out the door. It's, oh, mummy, we don't want you to go. It's just like, okay, we'll see you soon. See you on Thursday. Really chill. But as much as possible, especially if I'm working in the holidays, it's anything kid related, I'll bring them along with us. We'll go as a family and enjoy the whole experience, which is really cool.
That's such a blessing, I guess, of what you do and just freelance work in general, that you do have that option to kind of bring your kids in where appropriate. Which is it's so nice for them to see what you do and to be a part of your life in that way, that work isn't just this distant thing that they're not anything to do with. But they can come and see it. I wanted to ask you a bit about kind of the influence that we have over our kids, because I know that as parents we can be very conscious of what our kids watch or what our kids are reading or looking at or listening to, because we know the influence on their kind of very forming brains. For you, I guess, even coming from the angle of having worked in TV and children's entertainment, how do you feel like we can remain the most positive influence over our own children, or how have you done that with your kids?
Yeah, I love this question actually, because I think, when kids are little, it's really easy, isn't it, to be the biggest influence in their life. And to have a lot of control over what they watch. Like you turn on the telly or you kind of guide them in that. And as they get older, there is that thing of going, they've got their peers and then you've got, whoa, this whole crazy world that opens up to them in terms of like, what's out there that they're watching and all that kind of stuff.
Opening a big dark door and
close it again. It's even more so now because it's like kids have access to stuff that we never did. Like, makes me feel really old, but like, do you know what I mean? They do. And for me, when I think about maintaining that influence, really, as a Christian, I kind of almost want to step aside and it not be about me being the biggest influence, but me being about helping them to shape their lives so that God's their biggest influence. Because actually, I might not get it right all the time. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And so I need to know that there'll be a certain point where they need to work out life and their faith and whatever it might be for themselves, and actually facilitating them finding what, for me, I want to be the biggest influence in their life, which is, faith, because ultimately they can experience and discern for themselves, and you kind of just walk alongside them with that. You change position as a parent, like from being like right in the middle and front center and the lead and the guide and all of that to walking side by side, I think, with your kids. And I love allowing my children to watch me make mistakes and to kind of, do you know what I mean? Just know that I don't always get it right, but that's okay. And we kind of like end up walking through stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you do that kind of like, for you guys, is it something where you will like apologize to your kids when you've, I don't know, shouted at them?
Yeah.
Or if you've made a mistake or you're late or whatever it is,
Yeah,
you just have those kind of open conversations.
Yeah. So like I actually do. And if I like lose my cool with them, I will come back to them. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like I was like, and usually it's because I'm tired or because I'm stressed about something. And I'm really honest with them. Do you know what? I'm actually just really stressed about this thing at the minute. And I'm sorry because my response to you wasn't what it should have been. And actually that wasn't about you. That was about me. And I need to kind of, and we'll just talk about it as openly and honestly as that, because I think it's really healthy for kids to know that you're not perfect.
Yeah.
Because then also they're not trying to achieve this unattainable standard in life. And then when they don't, they feel like, oh, I'm terrible. No, you're not terrible. It's just life. We all do it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, we move on, you know.
And do you see that maybe play out in their relationship as well? Because it's hard with like siblings, especially when you're close in age.
Yeah.
There's like always little disagreements or things. But actually, I guess if you can model to them that ability to reconcile, to repair, to say sorry, do you see them able to kind of do that with each other a bit more?
I mean,
they're getting there.
The hope is that they'll be able to do that. Right now, it's still very sibling, like, but I talk to them about it a lot, and we talk about what do we talk about? We talk about things like, you know, conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution.
Yeah, and like healthy listening to one another and all of those kind of things. The stuff that you'd probably talk through in marriage counselling, do you know what I mean? Like, you can apply this stuff in your relationship. Did you listen to what your sister was saying to you? Repeat it back so she knows that you've heard her. Do you know what I mean? Like, really trying to help them communicate with one another. Yeah. And I would say these tools will be good for you as you grow up. So try and get it right with each other. They're still working on
I can just imagine you sitting like on opposite sofas, like proper like therapists, like having them do their...
It's usually like when they're in the back of the car and they can't escape.
That's a good
You will
plan.
listen to this life lesson. Yeah, we have a lot of chats while we're driving somewhere and they're in the back of the car and I'm obviously in the driver's seat, I'm like, they can't disappear. They can't be distracted by the telly. You're just going to listen to this life lesson right now.
Yeah. And also they know that it's going to come to an end at some point because the journey is only so long. Unless you're like driving really far, driving to Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah. They know, right, this will be over in 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
just
fine.
sit, listen to her, nod and smile.
Hello, everyone. I'm just interrupting this episode very quickly to let you know that bookings for Spring Harvest 2025 are now open, which is very exciting. So you can head over to springharvest.org. You can check out all the accommodation options and you can see which site suits you best. Minehead, Skegness. The dates are 7th to the 11th of April in Skegness or 14th to the 18th of April in Minehead. So head over to their website, check it all out, see if you want to book on with your family, and hopefully I'll see you there next year. So you wrote this wonderful book, What's Up? And it is a daily devotional or a devotional in general of encouragements for 7 to 11-year-olds.
Yeah.
Is that right? What kind of made you want to write this? Did you notice a need for more encouragement among that age group?
Yeah, I definitely think that, I mean, there are devotionals out there. We've done some really fun ones with our kids. But there's not a lot from British voices. And also the thing for me about this book is that exactly what I was talking about with being really open and honest with my kids. And you've written a lovely chapter in this book.
I have actually got a little, I need to find it.
Which chapter is it?
I can't remember. Let's find my chapter. Not that this is about me.
There's a
oh, here it is.
Thing in the front.
Here we go. Number 18.
Number 18, decisions.
Decisions. And that's
you.
apparently me.
Apparently
there you go.
I love the little drawings. I didn't draw them. Sorry. Yeah, but the thing is, you know, it's your story, isn't it? It's taken from an experience in your life. And the ones that I've written, they're an experience from my life, and they're real and they're raw.
Yeah.
And there's no filter really in terms of the things I talk about. Some really tough stuff in that book. So about losing people, about trying to navigate what you do when you pray and your prayers don't feel like they've been answered, but maybe they've been answered in a different way. And the idea was just to be as real and raw with our young kids as possible so that they can navigate their way through their faith journey. And there's lots of kind of questions in there and spaces to reflect so that they can unpack it with God for themselves, you know, whatever they're going through.
Do you feel like this is like the topics that are in here, because it says encouragements to fuel your faith? Is that something that you feel is maybe lacking? Like it lacks conversation, or there lacks space for young people to process these things?
Yeah, maybe some of them. Yeah, I'm sure there are places, but maybe there aren't loads, I don't know. And there were things in there that I just thought, looked at my own kids, looked at things that I walked through as a young person, stuff that I've walked through as an older person, and still try and navigate. I think it's, somebody said to me, I feel like this book is two things. I said, multi-generational. It's designed for kids, but the encouragements, you can encourage anyone in those things. And the other thing is, they said, there's no junior Holy Spirit in this book.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not dulled down. It's not dumbed down for like the kiddie version. This is raw. This is Jesus. This is who you can have access to. You may only be 5, 6, 7, 8, but the same Holy Spirit you can have in your life as, mummy, daddy, auntie, uncle, whoever has. So, yeah, I don't know.
I love it because like you said, it is full of a lot of like personal testimony as well and people's individual life story. And I think that's so nice for kids to be able to read for themselves. And because I think there's something really powerful about testimony, isn't there? That it's not like, okay, you have to believe this is what's going to happen in your life, It's just somebody quite openly saying, this was what happened with me, and then it's just a learning experience. You can take from it what you want. But it's so nice to think of like 7 to 11-year-olds just picking this up, reading it before bed, getting a bit of encouragement, which would be so great for all of us. Really, we all need a bit more encouragement.
I know. And I've always been so encouraged by hearing other people's stories. Like, it's the one thing that even like the other day I was chatting to a friend, she was telling me about her journey into like buying a house or something, I don't know. I just sat and I listened to her and I was like, wow, just hearing like what's happened to you and the possibilities of what could happen. I was like, so encouraging. And I think there's something so powerful, like you say, about using our stories, like you, and particularly like me using my God stories. And there are so many of them. And when you sort of have to pick out so many parts of your life and you go, God's been there like the whole time. This is really cool. So yeah.
It's nice that you also have a kind of ways of incorporating your faith into your work, because obviously with much of your TV work, you can't necessarily stand there and be like, hey kids, today I'm going to tell you about Jesus.
No.
I feel like I sounded Australian then, going back to the home and away thing.
Hi kids.
G'day kids. But yeah, I think is that a nice kind of outlet for you to process faith as well as all the other stuff that you do?
To be able to speak freely about something so ingrained in who I am and such an important part of my life. It feels like freedom to be able to do that. Yeah.
That's so great. One thing that I always love kind of finding out from people, because I think it gives you a good, I don't know, like a nice overview of that person. But when we talk about legacy and we talk about the things that we would love our children to have learned from us, but also maybe the things that we've learned from previous generations, are there things that you would definitely want to pass on to your kids that you have learned from your parents, or even things that you're like, I'm definitely not going to pass that on?
Oh, that's a really great question. One thing my parents did for me and my sister was just allowed us the freedom to be who we were and to follow our dreams. And I'm so thankful to my parents for that, because they didn't squash anything. My sister has a completely different career to me. She's like a high-flying corporate lawyer, super smart. It was like so different. But they allowed her to run with that. And when she was about 14 or 15, they sent her off to do work experience with a friend of the family, and she went up to the Old Bailey, and they really championed what we wanted to do. And for me, they would drive me, we lived in Hampshire, but like one Sunday a month they'd drive me up to come to a dance school in London to do an associate school, and they really just went, okay, we see you and we see what's in you, and we're going to nurture it, and we're going to do everything we can to give you the freedom and the space to be who you are. They didn't try and shape me into doing something else. They didn't say, maybe, I don't know, it's a bit of an unstable career, Joanna. They just went, go for it.
Yeah.
And I love that. And that's one thing that when I look at my kids, I think, I want to be able to do that for them. I want to be able to just see who they are, what their passions are, what they're naturally good at, what they're created to be, and let it flourish. And not only give it the freedom to flourish, but do everything I can to walk alongside them and so into it, whether it's financially or time or whatever, and go, yeah, I'm with you in this. I back you. Come on, let's do this. And not kind of go, why don't you try and do this instead? That seems more sensible. Because that's the, we do that as well, because we kind of go, we want the best for you. But
yeah, no, I love that. I think it can be hard as parents, especially in this day and age, cost of living crisis and all that. We can become quite preoccupied with our own stuff and like our own dreams even, and if we're at a place, especially when you've got young children, your career might be, I don't know, taking off a little bit, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, finally everything's happening. And then you're like, oh, actually no, I also want to be really attentive to my kids, to get to know them, because really you can only do that for your kids, like in terms of what you were saying about finding what they're good at and really nurturing it. You do that through relationship, don't you? And through really getting to know them. You don't really give them a tick box questionnaire, like, what do you like? Football, basketball, tennis, tick one and we'll go to that
Rate
club.
them 1 to 5.
It's just through relationship, because your kids don't really know what they necessarily want to do at young ages anyway. I think it's interesting because it always comes at a cost, which can be hard as a parent, because you constantly do have to lay parts of yourself down for the flourishing of your kids. But it's so worth it.
So worth it. Because they're like your, I don't know, your legacy, but almost like they're your ministry. They're your, do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're sowing into them. And I think, who knows what they will do and the influence they will have when they walk in the middle of what they're supposed to be doing. But what a privilege that you get to be a part of that.
Wow.
It's so cool. And you wouldn't want to shut any of those doors. And who are we to do that? Do you know what I mean? We're just stewards of these kids. So I'm like, open as many just doors for them as possible. And
yes, I love that. So, Joanna, as Chief Encourager, which I've now given you that new title of because of the book, could you end by giving, I'm really putting you on the spot here because I haven't pre-warned about this. Could you end by giving anyone that's listening to this, so probably parents, a little encouragement? A little encouragement for a parent anywhere right now.
Yeah, well, if I was to encourage a parent, I would say, and I'm just literally thinking off the top of my head right now. So the first thing I'd say is that you are the perfect parent for your child. There's no one else, almost like you were chosen to be mum or dad to that child. Do you know what I mean? That's on purpose. So you are right for them. And then, I don't know, really trust your kids to God. Because, I went through a bit of a phase of panic where I was going, I don't feel like I'm doing enough with my kids. And, we'd read through a devotional, it was a really good devotional. And then we kind of weren't doing anything. And the kids were at an age where they were doing a lot of reading themselves. So I wasn't really reading with them at night. And they wanted to kind of read at their own pace and reading their separate books, and it just meant that our bedtime routine had changed, and I wasn't doing the whole kind of, I found I wasn't sitting there at bedtime and praying with him in the same way. I was like, oh man, I'm not doing enough. Me, I'm not doing enough, and actually I think it was one of the kind of leaders in kids church came up to me one Sunday and said, I just want to tell you how incredible your son is. He really knows the Holy Spirit. He's such an encourager to other kids, and he prayed for another little boy and told them how God had healed him and all this stuff. And I was like, oh wow, it's so it's not about you as a parent. You kind of have to be willing to step aside and just continue just to trust God with your kids and even their faith journeys. Obviously, I'm not saying don't do anything and neglect that, but just know that He's got them. And despite what you can do, He's still going to do everything He's planned to do for them. So give yourself a break. It's going to be all right.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your encouragement. And yeah, if anybody would like to get some encouragements for their kids as well, then please do pick up this book. You can get it pretty much from everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say you can get it from everywhere.
Get
Amazon, Waterstones, all the good bookstores.
All the places.
Yes. So no, thank you so much, Joanna. And we will see you on our TVs again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Another Mother. Don't forget to subscribe for future episodes, and please do help us spread the word about this podcast. You can share it with your friends, with other parents that you know, other mums, grandparents, or just anyone that you think might enjoy these episodes.